Before planting your seed in the ground, it's always important to say a quick prayer. If you take several bumpy turns off the main road, Overland Missions Base Camp can be found nestled in the backcountry of Choma, the provincial capital. Before this base camp was established on the outskirts of the city, many local residents didn't know where to find seeds to plant, let alone that they should be offering a prayer before sowing them. Caristo Chipwaya is a pastor and the base camp director for Overland Missions Sustain Project, a gospel-led education program that teaches sustainable farming practices to locals. From compost to mulch, Caristo and his team teach residents to farm God's way, using only organic materials they can find at home.
This is the farming that, if any man tries it, it performs wonders.
Welcome to Nature Answers, rural stories from a changing planet. I'm Ivy Prosper. Today, we're heading to Overland Missions Base Camp, where Caristo and his team are combining faith-based principles with hands-on farming practices, equipping local families with the tools they need to live healthier, more sustainable lives. In the rural hills of Zambia's southern province, many believe giving an honest prayer before planting your crops is the best way to ensure a bountiful harvest. 4 years ago, when Overland Mission Base Camp opened its doors as a center for worship and agricultural education, it began offering free meals and accommodation to anyone willing to learn organic farming. What was previously an underdeveloped local property has now grown to have classrooms, dorms, vegetable gardens, and a 10-acre crop field. Village chickens and free-range turkeys roam the property, taking shade under the base's rows of banana trees. The property is supervised by 2 large mixed mastiffs, who admittedly do more napping than guarding. As a director of the base, Caristo Chipwaya spends his days visiting neighbors and community leaders, encouraging them to use faith to strengthen their crops. He says that farming with natural resources is the way God intended it.
As it is a gospel-centered place, we're looking at spreading the gospel in the villages. And when we have gone out to teach the gospel, the most response you've gotten from the people is that we are poor, we are hungry, we are poverty-stricken. And now how can we bring the gospel to these people? Because we are preaching to them and they are looking at us like, do you have something to give us? We're like, we have the word of God. But like, no, that's not enough for us. We need food, we are hungry. And hence we came up with what we call farming God's way, which teaches people on how to farm, whereby you put in 0, but you get 1. What do I mean? You use the natural resources that God has provided us. You don't go to buy hybrid seed, you don't have to go to buy fertilizer, but use what God has put in place.
Farming God's way is another way of saying farming using nature-based solutions. For Caristo, teaching the community these solutions is an integral part of his gospel teachings.
This farming God's way, this natural kind of farming, is a tool that keeps us going and also helps people to understand God practically. That when I work the land, God is going to help me, He's going to bless me. Hosea 4, verse 6, the Bible says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. They do farming, but they have no knowledge about how to do this farming. Now we are giving them this knowledge. With the understanding that God loves them, with the understanding that God is their source, then they begin to do this farming with this knowledge that, we are growing our crops in the right way, whereby we are not destroying our land, but we are also helping our land to continue giving us, the harvest.
Teaching a faith-based approach to farming can come as a challenge, especially for a culture with deeply entrenched beliefs. In Zambia, many people look to their traditional leaders for guidance. Pastors, headmen, and chiefs all stand as essential pillars in their communities.
It hasn't been very easy because people, they are used of this kind of what we call traditional farming, where they use plows and all those things. So it's very difficult for them to change from their old way of farming to this one. But it has been very helpful when we've called their leaders to come to our training. And we trained the leader, the headmen, the chief, pastors. And when they go back, they begin to do this. And then their members are asking them, what is this which you are doing? How does it help you? And then they explain. Then when they want to know more, then they send them to us.
Aside from teaching students how to compost and mulch, the learning done at the base camp extends beyond the practical. Caristo and his team provide community members with mentorship support in both their professional and personal lives after they finish their programming.
From Tuesday to Friday, we're out with our leaders. Sometimes we go to their garden, we help, we sit with them in their fields. From morning, we eat with them. We are a family. Sometimes we go there, we find maybe they have a funeral. We mourn with them. Sometimes we go there, we find maybe there's a problem or they are working, they are doing something. We do it with them. And then as we do that, they also see that there's a love from us that we give them. We're not just there to teach them and go back. We want to live with them. We want to celebrate with them when they succeed.
Over the years, many students have come and gone from Overland Missions Base. While some take their lessons and go, others have come back, choosing to share with incoming students how their lives have changed.
Jina langu bunazwa kwamba nimepidaki siazirundu. Ndiriwa mu 93.
This is Pedag Siazulundu, a young farmer in his early 30s. He met Overland Missions when they began advertising in his area. Tall and timid, Pedag speaks the local language, Tonga. Despite being Zambia's cool and dry season, Pedag dons a tank top and shorts, clearly taking advantage of one of the season's warmer days.
Before I connected with Overland Missions, I had a lot of challenges. One challenge was that I was overworking myself. I was working 12 hours every day, morning and afternoon. Instead of working normally, I was overworking a lot. Why? I didn't know I could use mulching as one way of getting rid of weeds. I did not know that mulching would help me to contain the moisture. And I didn't know that I should not burn the grass. It was something that was a bother to me. I do not burn grass anymore. I even hire people to cut grass for me, for my mulching. My wife and I are looking better now. A few years ago, my wife and I lost weight because we were punishing ourselves when there was an easier way of managing our fields. So I'm very, very happy that the principles I learned here are bearing fruit. I have time to rest now. I have time to go to church. I have time to go for leisure, to watch football, something that I was failing to do in the past. I was punishing myself. I didn't know that there was a better way of doing things.
Pedag's youth means he has several years to practice farming God's way. Many older residents are learning Overland's teachings later in life. Still, the lessons learned at the base have transformed more than just how they farm. Reaching beyond the fields, Overland's message has taken root in their homes, planting seeds of change in the unlikeliest of places. 56-year-old Maggie Lutenta was a different woman before coming to Overland Missions Base. Though familiar with the Christian faith, Maggie chose to live her life by a distinct set of more traditional beliefs. With short gray hair braided tightly to her head, Maggie is first and foremost a wife and a mother.
Mebo keta naswanga na Overland Mission. My challenge before I came to Overland Missions was, even though I was going to church, I was not spiritual. I had no proper understanding of who God was. During that time, I was giving my daughters incisions. I was making incisions so that their bodies would be warm and boys would love them. I was putting love potion in my husband's food as a way of cementing our marriage. When I came here, I learned that this was evil. So I stopped doing these things. My second challenge was that my husband did not allow me to have crop fields of my own because of the lessons I learned here through my religious studies. I have discovered that a husband and a wife are one body and they need to work together. They need to plan together. They need to think together. Now, all my household plans are created alongside my husband and my children. Even our crop production is subdivided. This is for our household food security. This is in order to earn income for the family. This is in order to buy shoes, uniforms, and books for my children's school requirements. Coming here has brought harmony to my home. Furthermore, it taught my family that we don't have to look elsewhere for crop production. We have everything we need in our home.
More than anyone else, it's the women in this community who show the greatest passion for farming God's way. In order to find autonomy and independence, many women here are forced to overcome obstacles both outside and inside the home.
They are more like dependents on their husbands. But this farming that we are teaching people, it helps ladies to be independent. They don't have to wait on the husband. If he cannot provide, they can grow something without using money, but using the resources that are available that God has given us, and find something to feed their children, even to send their children to school. That's why most of the ladies are the ones that are receiving this teaching, because they understand how it helps them to alleviate most of the problems in the household.
Earning income as an independent woman can often be seen as too challenging a prospect for many women to bear.
Ina yangu ndime Ines Munkombwe, ndira 54 years.
At 54, Ines Munkombue knows all about fighting against the stigma of being a self-sustaining woman. After learning how to compost, mulch, and pothole from Overland Base, Ines managed to plant and harvest crops during Zambia's worst drought in generations. Since facing the drought on her own, Ines and her children have continued farming God's way, harvesting a consistent yield every year.
Ina yangu ndime Ines Munkombwe, mewoye kwetwepe.
I'm not married. Before I came here, my desire was to find a man who had cattle so that I could have more power to farm and produce food. But when I came here, I learned from Overland Mission that I should not even be looking for men. Men are the ones who should be looking for me. In the process of learning pastoring and learning the principles of farming God's way, I have learned that I don't need a man with cattle anymore. I'm able to farm on my own and work with my children. We are harvesting on time. With the money I earn, I'm able to take my children to school, so I don't desire to look for men anymore.
Earning enough money to feed yourself is hard enough, but for Rosemary Mwanda, a small woman in her mid-60s, the real challenge has been finding a way to feed both herself and her husband. A firm believer in mulching, Rosemary has been finding ways to make her crops more manageable as her and her husband get older. Before Overland Missions, managing crops on her own was unthinkable. not only for the labor it presented, but also for how it made her husband feel.
Before I joined Overland Missions, my biggest challenge was that my husband was a traditionalist. He never allowed me to own any piece of land. I was never allowed to grow crops of my own. Everything I did belonged to my husband. I started attending church services here, and eventually when I went home, I would explain to my husband the benefits of the church. Then my husband started slowly joining me, although not regularly, but he would come to attend the meetings. Eventually, he got so excited. So now, the two of us are working as a team. We have incorporated our children. Now my husband has allowed me to own a piece of land where I grow my own food with his support. And whenever there is a meeting, he's the first one to tell me, "Are you not attending this meeting? Please go. Where possible, we come together. But we are aging. I was born in 1961. My husband is slightly older than me. So the children are scattered now. One of us has to remain home in case of theft. However, we support each other 100%. We plan together. We do things together. When I tell him there is a meeting, he's the one who says, go, go, go. You should be the first one there. We are very happy. When I come home from this meeting, he will be asking me, did you bring the sugar? Before, if I ever brought even a small sweet home, he would ask me, who gave you the money? But now he knows that from the garden we make our own money, from the fields we make our own money. These are the benefits we have gotten out of this organization. The knowledge we have gained and the experiences we have gained. We are now teaching our children so that they can practice farming this way.
The experiences of former students have only strengthened Caristo's belief in both his teachings and the gospel. Beyond what's taught at the Overland Missions Base, he believes these lessons have the power to reach farmers across Africa and to start changing the story for the better.
We want to change the story of Africa. It's so painful, my friend, every time you come to Africa, sickness is in Africa. Poverty is in Africa. Corruption is in Africa. Theft is in Africa. Unfaithfulness, prostitution is in Africa. Why? But they say we are a dark continent. I don't think they refer to our skin. They refer to the things that are happening in Africa. That the stealing is darkness. Corruption is darkness. Poverty is darkness. And hence they have called Africa as a dark continent. But I want to assure you, by the grace of God, if God helps us, we go around the entire Africa, people, they get to know this farming. We are going to change the narrative. From being called beggars, we'll be called givers. We want to be called the continent of light.
Farming God's way isn't just about making a living or putting food on the table. Like Caristo said, it's about using the materials we've been blessed with, both for our benefit and the Earth's. With the future of climate change still uncertain, Caristo and his former students believe that farming God's way is the only path to leaving something meaningful behind for their children.
If we protect our land, we are going to leave this inheritance to our children. And when we show them these experiments on how the land is destroyed every day by the soil erosion, by burning the bush, by plowing, and we show them if we stop doing these things, our land will begin to recover from the destruction that has taken place years and years. And then we begin to plant even trees and these things. And then what the world is saying that climate change is here to stay, it will not be a thing. It will tell them, no, it's not here to stay. We are going to do the right thing and beat this climate change.
We'll end this week's episode on those words by Caristo. Thank you for tuning in to Nature Answers, a a podcast produced by Farm Radio International. You can learn more about nature-based solutions and the people implementing them by subscribing to Nature Answers wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow us on social media at Farm Radio or visit us at farmradio.org/natureanswers. Tune in to the next episode of Nature Answers, where we'll look at another exciting story about a rural community using a nature-based solution to adapt to climate change. And we want to hear from you. Open up the recording app on your phone. Tell us your name and where you're listening from, as well as a nature-based solution you're using in your community. Send your recording to natureanswers@farmradio.org, and you may be featured in a future episode. Until next time, I'm your host, Ivy Prosper, coming to you from Accra, Ghana.
This episode was written and produced in Zambia by me, Raquel Medina, with support from staff from Farm Radio International's office in Lusaka, Zambia. Special thanks to the wonderful people at the Media Institute of Southern Africa and project manager Thomas Zulu. Living and working in Zambia was a fantastic experience. I learned so much about how rural farmers are tackling climate change and how education about nature-based solutions is filtering throughout communities across the country. Zambia is a beautiful place with so many natural wonders and wildlife, and I was very fortunate to be able to see so much of it during the production of this episode. Additional thanks to Caristo Chipwaya, Maggie Lutenta, Ines Mukombwe, Pedag Siazilondu, Rosemary Munda, and the team at Overland Missions Base Camp. Translations were done by Margaret Kabuswe, Ines Firi, Crispin Bwalia, and Jane Shira. I joined Farm Radio as part of an internship program with Carleton University's School of Journalism.
I'm John McGill, one of the producers and the editor of this season of Nature Answers. Farm Radio International compensated community members who participated in our interviews. It is a common practice to compensate a person in this region for the time that they spent being interviewed. Our podcast would exclude many important perspectives if we could only interview those who could afford to step away from their economic activities without compensation. Nature Answers was produced by Farm Radio International, thanks to funding from the Government of Canada.